What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 12 of FLAmerica. I'm joined here today by my co-host Leo and a very special guest, Marcelo Barreto, aka CeloCRF. For those of you who don't know who Marcelo is, he's not only a diehard Flamengo fan like ourselves, but he is one of the pioneers for Flamengo on the web space, specifically on YouTube. He held one of the first Flamengo YouTube channels where he'd post old school VHS tapes and render them to be able to actually be seen on YouTube digitally. So awesome. We're super thrilled and grateful to have you here. So Marcelo, welcome in. How you doing, man?
I'm okay, Rafa. Thank you. I appreciate the invite. Also, hi, Leo. Yeah, let's talk about some Flamengo in English. We don't get to do that often, so I'm very happy that you guys have this channel now ongoing. That we can get something going here in English. So let's do it.
Beautiful. Yeah, let's dive right in. Today, you guys are going to see a little bit later in the episode, we're going to have the debut of our segment, Meet the Fan, where we bring in a fan that reaches out to us or that we know of who wants to be a part of them and let them have a little bit of glimpse, a little moment in the spotlight and show the magnitude of Flamengo fans nationwide and internationally, really. So diving into the season, 2024 was a year, safe to say, a roller coaster year, guys, right? I mean, talk about ups, downs, lefts, rights. I mean, you name it, right? I think a fair place, since this is FLAmerica, you can see this American flag right here next to me. A safe place to begin is in the preseason, right? We started out here in America. Two main games, once against Philadelphia Union, where we won 2-0. Pedro and Cebolinha scored, and one where we played Orlando City. And we were at that. Were you at that game too, Marcelo?
Yeah, I wasn't planning on going, but I was already in Florida visiting some family members down in South Florida, and my brother lives out there. He's a diehard Flamengo fan as well. So we just decided the day before, yeah, let's drive up and watch the game. Why not?
There you go. Yeah, we were there too, and I think from those two games, and I'll ask you guys, what were your thoughts back then after seeing those two games? I was excited for the season, right? Pedro scored in both games. We'll get into a little bit what ended up unfortunately happening with him and 20 other Flamengo players. But after seeing our preseason here in America, what did you guys make of it? What did you guys make of the season? And how was it, the fact that we were able to experience Flamengo in an environment here in the United States, but still with a packed crowd roaring and thumping? How did that feel, Marcelo, being here in America and kind of almost getting to feel kind of like we were in Brazil almost?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the most exciting thing that I saw out of the both games, specifically talking about the game against Orlando, seeing the environment, what we were able to do with that stadium as far as taking over the stadium. If I'm not mistaken, I think we had probably about 90% of the stadium was our fans, and the Orlando City fans basically they were mixed within a couple here and there, but they mainly had the that stand that's designated to their crowd over there behind one of the goals. But yeah, I mean that just for that experience alone, just seeing that the what our club can do and the kind of crowd that we can get in the stadiums here in the U.S. That was a huge thing to witness. So yeah, I mean it was a great preseason start. We I think we were pretty much happy with what we were seeing. The result wasn't that great, but I just chalk that up to a preseason game. But the thing, yeah, like I said, the thing that stood out to me was just the crowd of what we were able to bring to that stadium, and seeing some of the reactions from Orlando City fans that are pretty upset that it was kind of embarrassing to them to see such a crowd there.
That's right. Did you get the same sentiment being at that game, Leo? And having spent the last couple of years here in America and obviously growing up in Rio, did it give you a little bit of that taste? Like, does it feel like Flamengo is finally getting that influence here in America?
Absolutely. For those of us who have had the opportunity to be in Maracanã and other stadiums so many times, to be able to be amidst the Flamengo fans, singing all of the chants, really embracing the club, it felt like we were in Brazil legitimately. So it was very exciting from that perspective. Also, it set the trend, right? Flamengo is coming back to the U.S. for the preseason of 2025. So I guess the team also felt very welcome. And they see that there's an opportunity to be had by bringing Flamengo more internationally. And what better place than the United States, where there are so many Brazilians living here, growing by the day, and of course, of those, the majority of which will be Flamengo fans. So it was super exciting. See Pedro score a wonderful goal. Everton Araújo, who nobody ever heard of, came in on the second half. He went to become one of the highlights of the year. So all in all, great atmosphere, and I'm looking very much forward for the Flamengo São Paulo game coming up in Fort Lauderdale in 2025. Marcelo, if you happen to be visiting your brother, we are also based in South Florida. Who knows? Maybe we can hook up in person.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir. And I think after that preseason, we were able to see a couple of the main signings, right? I think the main two that we were able to highlight are, Leo Ortiz and De La Cruz, right? From those two signings, Marcelo, how do you think their year went, right? As a reflection, what's your opinion on those two big signings in specific that we had brought on in the beginning of the season?
I think Leo Ortiz was the best performance out of the signings that we made for this season. It's very unfortunate that our previous coach, Sita, did not give him an opportunity to play where he is more comfortable. And not to say that he did bad where he played advanced, but as far as it was clear since day one that he would be in the starting position in our back line, and to have almost half of the season of him not playing in that back line goes to show what kind of job our previous coach did. But as far as De La Cruz, I would give him the benefit of the doubt because he was coming in as his first season in a country where we play almost twice as many games where he was previously playing at. And he is already dealt with a couple of injuries, and we saw those injuries happen with Flamengo. So as far as I'll give him the year that he had as part of an adaptation that I'm pretty sure next year we should see some sort of improvement, and also more time of him on the pitch as a starter, because I do believe that he is a starter on this squad. And but I would say Leo Ortiz out of both had the best year, and we saw that towards the second half of the season when we had Felipe Luis do what most of us as fans saw, but unfortunately our previous coach did not.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, it was even highlighted with the fact that Leo Ortiz was brought up to the national team. I mean, he was playing fantastic. And De La Cruz as well. Leo, Flamengo fans are quick to pounce and chop somebody up and count them out. I mean, it's in every, most Flamengo fans have been like this always, no matter what, right? Do you think getting on De La Cruz's heels and counting him out is already justified, maybe on his lackluster, underwhelming performance? Or do you think people are way too harsh and that we're only seeing the beginning of him here at the club, Leo?
I think there are two things to that, Rafa. One is that you're right. Flamengo fans, Brazilian soccer fans, and Flamengo fans as well, we tend to be very short-term basis or immediatists, if you will. So if you just take his performance this year as a standalone, you may leave room for criticism. And especially also because of the fact that he cost, what was it, $18 million or something around there that Flamengo paid cash. River Plate did not want to sell him. Flamengo has been pursuing De La Cruz for a long time. And finally, we were able to go there. We had to send that wire, and only that way to get him. And to emphasize what Marcelo said, which is absolutely true, remember, De La Cruz played, 9 Copa America games, all of which were super intense games for his national team of Uruguay, including one against Brazil, that, further strained his physical ability to perform at the highest level throughout that crowded of a calendar. So I do agree with Marcelo's assessment that next year should be a year with which to expect a lot more from De La Cruz. And I know for a fact that once he is a very talented player, that once he gets in stride, he's healthy, hopefully there'll be, and I know there will be better time management so that the players don't stress themselves out so much in the beginning of the season in the Rio State Championship, which we're going to talk about in a second, so that they can pick and choose what games to invest the precious playing time of all of our talented players in order to minimize the risk of injury.
Completely get it. And I appreciate you making my job easy and segueing me into my very next point, which was the Rio State Championship, or as we call it in Portuguese, o Carioca, right? Let me ask you guys this. We won that championship fairly easily, right? In the final against, Nova Iguaçu. It was a match where, unfortunately, we ended up signing a player who I don't think is the best, called Carlinhos. But anyways, that's beside the point. That's neither here nor there. Point is, we won that championship. However, when I was reflecting back on this year, I almost really kind of forgot about that, right? It didn't feel that big of significance. It's kind of a shame because, and you tell me, Marcelo and Leo, feels like back then, back in the days, the Carioca was way bigger than it even is now. Marcelo, what do you make of that? And do you feel like the Carioca for Flamengo is like a automatic must win and should be for Flamengo every year?
Well, absolutely. It's one of those tournaments where you are just expected to win, and if you win, no big deal. But if you lose, it is a huge deal. Yeah, I mean, I'm in my late 40s, so I am from a time where the state championship was a huge deal, most likely in some points more important than the national, the Brasileirão. Uh, so most of my great fond memories as a fan, as a child, came from those state championships. So I do enjoy it, but I do also understand that we are at a time where there is no reason why such a championship, not just about Rio, but all of them, should take up 3.5 to 4 months of our calendar, and hence why we have such a horrible calendar in Brazilian football, where we have so many games that are uninteresting. But I would just say that I was really happy with our performance, and especially what we did, what the club did, which is spread out those games with reserve squads and do like a national tour where we have such a huge fan base up in the north and the northeast of the country. And I do see here in the recent news that they are planning to do the same this year. So I think that is a huge plus for those crowds, because some do not get to see the team perform live in person. And that's probably their only chance of doing so. But nowadays, I would just say the state championship should be treated as preseason. You give the main players a game here and there so they can get fit. Maybe towards the end of the tournament, then you play them more consistently, where you have the semifinal and the final. But I just think that the 2024 one was just pretty much a cakewalk.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know if I'm sure you feel the same way, Leo. Let me ask you this, Leo. Do you think that with the resurgence, really big resurgence of Botafogo, and Fluminense as well, right? Obviously, they had a rough year this year, but the previous year they were the holding Libertadores champions. Now that we have Flamengo Libertadores winner, Fluminense Libertadores winner, Botafogo Libertadores winner, and then Vasco for everybody to kind of kick around. Do you think, Leo, that the level and the importance will rise at all, or do you agree that it should continue to just be treated preseason game, and maybe when we get to the semifinals and finals start turning it up a notch?
The answer is in your question itself, Rafa. It depends who makes it to the semifinals, right? Botafogo chose the approach of not playing their players throughout the competition, and because of that, they didn't even make it to the semifinals. So they didn't even fight for it. Fluminense had a very bad showing as well. So much so that Flamengo ends up playing a final against Nova Iguaçu that beats Vasco in a semifinal, just for added misery to Vasco. But there's something to be said about that, right? Botafogo did not play their starters at all, and they were certainly the fresher team towards the end of the season. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a question to be said that I agree with Marcelo. We got to showcase Flamengo to the areas in Brazil where those fans are huge. Flamengo fans are huge in the Northeast. They're huge in numbers in the North, in the center west of the country, in the capital, in the state of Santa Catarina. So Flamengo fans are everywhere. It is fair that they get a chance to see the club. At the same time, we need to be smart about how do we use our players. And the reason is 2025 has the possibility of being the year in the history of Flamengo where more games are played. We can play up to 85 games in the year 2025 if we make it to the end of every competition. Imagine that. So obviously we're going to need a deep squad of players that can step in here and there, but we're also going to need time management. And the trick of that is because during the Carioca or the state championship, which is like the first 2 or 3 months of the year, that's where the schedule is not as intense if you compare to what happens later on when you start overlapping the Brazilian League, the Libertadores, and also the Copa do Brasil. So it's a really intricate puzzle that Felipe Luis and all of his team will have to manage to make sure that we utilize our players and our depth ideally. Now, if we get to a Final Four of the Campeonato Carioca, of the state championship, with the 4 top clubs, then, of course, it's going to be all guns blazing and everybody's going to want to win it. But I don't know that you put it all at risk just in order to make it to the final. Now, a point of reflection here, guys. Flamengo came from a year 2023, which was arguably the very worst year in terms of performance of the last several years. We didn't win any titles in 2023. 2024, as we covered recently on an episode, was an election year for Flamengo presidency. So the club was, and the management and the executives, they really were hungry and craving a trophy that they could finally lift. So they put a lot of focus on this Rio State Championship. So much so that Flamengo played their starters in the second match of the final against Nova Iguaçu after having blown them away in the first match. And we spare some players in a Libertadores match that came up in the subsequent Wednesday. So just to give you an idea of how they really went all in for the state championship. Yes, we won. I'm delighted that we won. Flamengo just extends their lead of the most winningest club in state championship history by a lot. But it could have, perhaps it played a role on the injuries that happened down the road. We'll never know. I just hope that we have a more balanced approach this year. And I'm sure we have a squad that can make it to the semifinals one way or the other. And then at that point, yes, let's beat those guys and bring yet another trophy home.
I agree. And to say it short, it's exactly what Marcelo said, right? We're expected to win it. And if we don't win it, that's when the problems arise. Now to transition into the Brasileirão, right? I think we started off at a decent start. There was high points such as our performance during the Copa America break. There was obviously a terrible start in the start of the second round of the Brasileirão, right? Segundo turno, as we call it. Now, I think the highlight of the Brasileirão was the fact that we've been riddled with injuries. I mean, you talk about Vinha, Cebolinha, Pedro, Luis Araújo, De La Cruz, even Arrascaeta a little bit towards the end. Marcelo, what do you make of the Brasileirão? How much of an impact were the injuries to it? And what does Flamengo need to do different next year so that we can win the Brasileirão?
Well, I think this year's tournament was very upsetting. We were, and I think this goes back to the previous regime that just lost the election. They were so focused on other tournaments, as far as the Copa do Brasil, Libertadores, where the Brasileirão was sort of treated like the state championship should have been treated all those years. We won 2019, we won 2020 back to back, and then after that, you just never saw Flamengo really contend for the Brasileirão moving forward, except this year where we actually were top of the league a few rounds, specifically where we thought we would actually take a dive, which is when our players went to play Copa America. And that was probably one of the best signs that we had as in our performance during the Brasileirão. We took out the top of the table. And then we see one of the worst moves that I would say happened, which is where we were planning to play Sao Paulo away, and we were top of the table, and we could have improved our margin of the lead. And we just fielded a reserve team because we were going to play if I'm not mistaken, the Libertadores next in midweek, if I'm not mistaken. And we lost the game to São Paulo, and then from there we just never regained. We lost the lead, and we never regained, to be quite honest. So of course the injuries play a huge role. The players that we lost during the Copa America also played a role in that. But again, we were top of the table, and we did not give the respect the tournament deserved in order to keep fighting for that title, and which is really disappointing as a fan. And I think most of the fans will also show their displeasure on such a decision that was made. And I think that it's one of the reasons why the last regime lost the election a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Be it the directory, be it the president, be it the coach at the time, definitely people in the positions of leadership, likely weren't meant to be there, weren't supposed to be there. And it really translated into the results that we were getting. I mean, that's another reason why I am super excited for this upcoming season, right? Fresh new people in power and with power, making the decisions. I mean, in my opinion, best coach we've had since Jorge Jesus, right? Just an exciting future with people who genuinely care. It's almost like Flamengo now is being ran by fans of Flamengo, if that makes sense, not political figures that are in there for their own self-interest. If you guys are catching what I'm saying, right? Do you have the same sentiments as Emilio, to keep it short?
Yeah, and the leadership sets the tone and sets the direction. The good news is that the newly elected president of Flamengo, Vapi, he was sworn in last night. And he gave an interview, and one of the things that he did say was that the Brazilian League, or the Brasileirão, will be a priority again, which is also another way of saying that he wasn't, like Marcelo said, right? And yes, there are clubs there that have been awarded championships, we say, by a fax. So the Brazilian Confederation just send them a letter saying, hey, you are now the champion of a corner league that was run in 1933 that nobody knows about. So there's some clubs there that claim to have more titles than Flamengo does, but the reality is we are tied in real titles. We are neck and neck with Palmeiras, right? In the real ones, the ones that should be counted, which is from 1971 to today. And Flamengo needs to go back at it. I remember one of the best chants that the Flamengo fans always sang had to do with the number of Brasileirão titles that we had. It was from the team that was tetracampeão to the team that was pentacampeão, that became hexa, that became hepta, and then we stopped at octa, right? Come on, man. I want to be able to keep on counting until we don't know how to say those numbers. So it's great to have the focus back.
Yeah, no, I love it. And like we said, right, the new leadership is gearing for an exciting future. I will say one thing, and see if you guys agree with me, that at least this last round of leadership left behind that was positive. I think when Flamengo, towards the middle of the season, when we needed to make quick signings to recuperate for everyone who was injured and bring in people quickly, I think we did a good job, right? I mean, Alexandro, great. Michael, one of my personal favorites, whether it be not necessarily for everything he does on the field, but the character he is. Plata, right, scoring the winning goal of the Copa do Brasil. Alcaraz, which is, someone I'd like you to actually touch on real quick, Marcelo. I liked your analysis about De La Cruz. I'm curious as if your analysis of Alcaraz is similar, but I mean, I like that they left behind at least some of those guys. I think those are productive players. Do you have the same feel? And what do you feel about those players specific, and in specifically even more Alcaraz, Marcelo?
Yeah, Alcaraz, I pretty much think the same way I do about De La Cruz. This is a guy that's coming from a club in Europe, which is short of the beginning of the season, and he comes to a club where it's practically in the middle of the season, which many more games to play. He's never played in Brazil before. He's a foreigner. So I always like to give these types of players a little bit more of a time for them to adapt to what the Brazilian football is about, which is a lot of games, not a lot of rest, a different pace. But it was a huge investment and to bring it all together with all of the players that we signed during that window. My main concern was, were we financially ready to make those signings? From what we are reading in recent news, is that a lot of our budget was compromised with those signings for this upcoming season. So we're not, according to reports, our budget is not really high to make such impact signing, which I don't think we need, by the way. I think, as Leo pointed out before, we have a really deep squad already with everybody is healthy. Of course, we do still have injuries that we're dealing with, specifically, more importantly, with Pedro, which seems to be that he's going to be fit maybe towards a little bit before the Club World Cup in 2025. So we do have that section to be worried a little bit about, where I think that whatever budget that we have now, it'll probably be focused towards getting somebody that can play these coming months where Pedro will not be available. But I think my main concern was, again, regarding those signings that we did, just maybe overstepping our budget. But I think they were good signings. Everybody plays well and produce what they are capable. I think they're all good players, and they're just going to be much needed, and specifically in the first 6 months of the next season.
Love it. Love it. I actually, that's a great analysis. And I think that's going to be pivotal, especially if we want to have an increase in results across multiple competitions. We speak about, arguably the biggest one, Libertadores, where Flamengo had a lackluster performance, against Peñarol, right? I mean, that was probably one of the lowlights of the season. And I think what you mentioned exactly right. If we can get the right people in the right places, we're expected to do better than we did this past season. I mean, could you agree with that, Leo?
I do. And Libertadores, Flamengo needs to get back to it where it should be, right? Yes, we won the 2019, and then we won 2022. The last two Libertadores, which is the main tournament of the year, perhaps not this year with the World Cup, but it's always the championship that the fans want to win the most. Whoever tasted 1981, 2019, and 2022 knows what I'm talking about, right, Rafa? Yeah, you had a chance to see. That's the good thing, that connects older Flamengo fans with younger Flamengo fans, that bridge two generations. So we need to go back and perform in Libertadores. To be eliminated by Olimpia and Peñarol, that's not really where we want to be, is it? And if you dig deeper, here's a little trivia. Guess what? The last time Flamengo won a game, whether group stage or playoffs in Libertadores away, the last time was when we beat Vélez Sarsfield in Argentina in 2022 in, what was it, the round of 16?
We whitewashed them that game, yeah?
We did. It was great. Pedro killed it. But since, I don't even know how many games away we played since. What was it? 3 group stages, 3, 6, maybe 9 or 10 games that we played away, including against powerhouses, Aucas,
Bolívar.
Bolívar, at least you have the altitude to play.
Yeah.
But Aucas, Deportivo Táchira, and God knows what other teams that we played, and we couldn't beat them. So about time we gear up and claim back our honor in the Libertadores. I have a good feeling about where we're going this year. I think the overall planning there's going to be managed with the club is going to be better. Is going to be allowing us to do just that. Now, talking about the squad, we already spoke about the importance of the depth of the squad, and we certainly have. But let's not forget, guys, Flamengo is the current under 21 world champions. Okay, the oldest division of youth competition in the world are the under 21s. Okay, so arguably those that are closer to being full professional. We won the world championship last year.
Not bad.
Talk about a recap. That's not bad, right? So, and Felipe Luis was the coach that became the main team's coach. So, yes, they're young players. We got to be careful how we manage the transition from the youths, the younger players into the main squad. But there's a bunch of great players there, right? Mm-hmm. They won the world championship. So although I agree and I fear, especially with the dollar appreciating recently against the Real, Flamengo bought a lot of these players in euros, and they haven't paid. Some of them were not paid in cash, so we owe a lot of that. That bill is rising. So there may be some limitation to as much as we can invest this year and signings. But what I'm really excited and hopeful about is that with a much more professional way to run the football department with better scouting and better plan altogether, we can do more with less. So that we are back against the wall with 10 players injured, and we have to rush signings. Not that they were bad ones. I don't think any of those were bad signings, but they sure as hell were very expensive signings, because whenever you need to buy something and you're in a hurry to buy something, guess
you
what?
lose leverage.
Probably, and you overpay, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think, we have the squad, we have the depth, we have the youth system, and very importantly, we have the coach and the executives of the new executives on the football side, on the soccer department, that will be in a good position to plan it out.
Love it. Yeah. And I think before we get into this last part here of 2024-2025 season, 2023-2024. Well, I guess in Brazil it's 2024 season. Let's just take a moment to ask you guys, please drop a like, subscribe, share. We always forget to say that. Again, thank you so much, Marcelo, too. We'll link his channel below as well. A big highlight of the end of the year that's kind of helping us leapfrog into the next season is obviously Chichi's departure and Felipe Luis's insertion and resurgence of Flamengo, right? He almost breathed life back into us, right? And I think that's highlighted by the Copa do Brasil final, right? Where when we played Palmeiras, Bahia, Corinthians, and Atlético Mineiro, right? 6 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss only. Obviously Felipe Luis only coached the semifinals and the finals. But how important and how crucial do you think, Marcelo, it was that Flamengo ended it off, like we say, fechou com chave de ouro, right? Ended it off on a golden key. How important was that for Flamengo's team morale as a club, as a company, as an organization, as a fan base? How monumental was that victory?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, you talk about the presence of Felipe Luis, who, as a player, we all thought that guy is smart enough to be a great coach whenever he decides to be one. And he was proving that in our youth as coach of the youth, the under 17s, and then after that, the under 20s, and with the club, under 20 club World Cup that he won. And then when Tite decided to, I guess the front office decided to depart ways with Chita, he was the obvious choice at such a short notice. And I was really happy to see what he was able to get out of this squad where the previous coach was not able to. You could see that we had the talent there, but the previous coach was not able to get that out of him. And Felipe Luis was no experience in senior level, but as a former teammate of most of the players in the squad, he was able to get all of the quality out, and that's what we saw on the field. So that Copa do Brasil championship was huge for him, as giving him some more of a leeway where he can, know that people know that he can be in that role and he belongs there for the coming season. It was huge for the club as far as, the revenue and the championship as well. And it was. I just think for the morale of us as fans, we were almost 2 years feeling like we needed to clean house and start from scratch, and we saw that with that Felipe Luis as the head coach, that he was able to show us that there is many more that this squad can give us as far as moving forward. So I was really happy with the championship, and we all kid around online that Atlético Mineiro is not a rival, but it was a huge thing to be the first club to lift the trophy in the stadium. That was
That's true.
Such a plus.
Yeah, we call it a one-way, one-street rivalry, right? Yeah. I see Leo shaking his head.
That's a scar on their face that will never heal. Never. That will forever remain the case. Flamengo was the first club to lift a trophy in their brand new arena. So
yes. And talking about brand new arenas, we'll get into that in our last segment as we look into 2025 and beyond. Right now, we're about to present to you guys the Meet the Fan, the first ever Meet the Fan. It's with a fan named Alex. He lives in Boston. He's a part of the FLA-USA-New England consulate. And so, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, get to know him. And the goal is to be able to showcase how many different fans we have around the world and how grateful we are as FLAmerica, although small and just getting started. For those of you out there who are viewing, it means a lot, and we're so glad to have you here. So we'll jump into that, and we'll be back. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the first segment of Meet the Fan. This is a segment where we have fans that reach out to us from all different parts of the world who are diehard Flamengo fans like ourselves and share a little bit of glimpse into their life as Flamengo fans to really show the magnitude of Flamengo as an international club and an international way of life. Today, we're joined by Alex. Alex, tell us a little about you, where are you from, and how you became a Flamengo fan.
So I'm originally from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. How I became a Flamengo fan is kind of interesting. I remember my early memories. I saw the Mundial de Clubs, 81.
81, nice.
81, and I remember I seen the Zico and all
Nice.
the other players. Like we're bringing up the trophy. That's actually one of my earliest memory. That's my first memory.
Really? Of being a Flamengo fan?
Flamengo fan that day.
That's awesome.
Remember.
Hey, that's a pretty good first memory of a Flamengo fan.
It's amazing.
I wish I had that. So you would say that 1981 day, not only is it your first memory, but is that your favorite Flamengo moment or match ever?
So I was probably 6 at the time, so I didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I know it was a soccer game and it was Flamengo, but I think when you're 6, you kind of don't have an idea.
Got you.
But my favorite memories of Flamengo, my favorite, it was in 2019 when we won.
Yeah, 1981 and 2019, you know, those are two moments that are definitely etched in Flamengo's history. So let me ask you this. Do you have a favorite Flamengo player? Maybe if you could name one in the past and one in the present.
All right, so one of my favorite Flamengo fans in the past, definitely Zico.
Okay, easy answer.
He would play as a team.
Love it. Yes. How about present? Who would you say in the current squad is your favorite?
I would say there's so many, but my favorite player at the moment would probably be Felipe Luis.
The coach, okay.
I think he plays with a suit. When he's playing, he's wearing a suit. Like he knows how to do what the ball.
Got you. Sounds great. And let me ask you this. Do you have a specific tradition or specific thing that you do whenever you go to watch games, Flamengo games, given that you live here in America? Are there people you meet up with? What is your game day like?
So if there are big games, I go to FLA-USA-New England.
Gotcha.
I go there and we watch the game with all the fans, a lot of fans from all over New England and for other parts of the country.
That's awesome. That's super cool to know that there's different consulates and different Flamengo groups all over America. You mentioned that you're part of FLA-USA-New England, so it's really amazing to see Flamengo's outreach. How is it like supporting Flamengo as an international fan here in America? Is it easy to be able to catch all the games? Do you feel a little bit away from home, you know, or how is it being away from Brazil but being a fan here?
It's actually very easy because you have embassy.
Okay.
And also now you can watch a lot of games on Extreme.
That's true.
or you can watch it at home. So it's very easy to follow all the games.
I agree. I agree. And Flamengo is becoming more and more accessible and a bigger name brand as well. I mean, you and I both have tickets for the Club World Cup coming in June, July, and that should be fantastic. I can't wait to see you out there. We want to give a quick shout out to Eduardo from FLA-USA New England too. I know he's part of the same group as you're in. And to wrap up the new segment, the first episode of Meet the Fan with Alex. Alex, what message would you like to send to Flamengo fans around the world? And what message would you like to send being the first person on Meet the Fan of FLAmerica as we continue to grow?
My message is like continue support Flamengo, continue watch the game. If you have a chance, come and visit FLA-USA New England. You are welcome to watch the game with us. It'll be a pleasure.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. We'll drop, if Alex is okay with it, we'll drop his email in the description. That way you guys can reach out to him with any questions. If you're ever in New England, he'll make sure to get you guys taken care of. Alex, thanks so much for joining us for this first ever segment of Meet the Fan. All the best. God bless, and back to the episode.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye, Alex.
Bye.
Thank you, Alex, for that. We're glad to hear from him and hope you guys enjoyed that first Meet the Fan. If you're out here and you're watching this video, drop a comment below. We want to have you on our next episode. Just want to again say, please take a moment to like, share, subscribe. Like I said, Alex is part of FLA-USA New England. Marcelo is a part of, is it FLA-USA or FLA New Jersey? And just want to give you an opportunity to give a shout out to the consulate that you're a part of.
Yeah, well, I'm not a part no more, but I was a part of FLA New Jersey nowadays.
Nice.
It was originally back in 2007. It was just I'm a co-founder along with my friend Bruno Lima, who is now currently back in Brazil. But we just
Nice.
decided there was no thing about consulates or anything back in that year. But we just decided, we both lived here in New Jersey. We decided we're both Flamengo fans. There's a huge Brazilian community over here. Why don't we just get together and start seeing that we can find more Flamengo fans that live around here, and we get together and watch the games at a bar. It's pretty much what we did. And it turned out once the club started organizing consulates and embassies, we decided to register, and we were, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we were the first one here in the U.S. Hence, our name was FLA-USA. That's it. There was no, and then as more embassies and consulates started developing, we changed our name to New Jersey, and then other consulates around the country just started to also name their according to their either state or city. But yeah, I mean, it was a really nice project. I was a part of it for 10 years, and then I stepped down and let the other younger generation take over and go from there.
Nice. That is awesome to hear. That's super cool. So 2025, guys, super excited about it. I'm sure you guys are as well. Those watching, I'm sure, are as well. I think a couple highlights within this last month or so of the year. We speak about Gabigol's departure. Flamengo elections of BAP. The new stadium. So really, what part about 2025 and beyond excites you the most, Marcelo?
Well, I would say within football is hopefully being given the proper respect that Brasileirão deserves and fighting for it and taking it seriously, making it a priority of the club. I think we have people now in our front office that have that mindset. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if they will practice what they preach throughout their campaign. So I do think the Brasileirão should be a priority for the club, with the Libertadores just maybe alongside of it. And Leo mentioned before that he thinks our main goal would be the Club World Cup. That would be wonderful, but I really don't think with all the clubs involved that any South American club has a shot, unless those European clubs don't give it the proper respect, where some are talking boycott, some are talking about maybe fielding reserve players. So maybe that'll open up a small gap for a South American club to actually maybe fight for the trophy. But I don't see it as a reality. That would be wonderful. But I think we should play to our reality, which should be the Brasileirão and the Libertadores for sure.
Love it, love it. Couldn't agree with you more. And Leo, other than the football side, what excites you the most?
Two things, Rafa. Number one, I want to see the consolidation of Felipe Luis, one of the best Brazilian coaches around. I think he has. His career has been fast tracked in a way he probably couldn't even believe himself. But what we are seeing in this early start is that there's something about this guy that is different. There is something about this guy that we knew that on the pitch he was super smart, he was intelligent, talented, not the most physically fit or strongest of players, but the decision making. You can see that transferring to when he's coaching the team. Just if you go back and you watch the two most important games in the Copa do Brasil, the second game against Corinthians when we had a player down and Corinthians was pressing, what he did on the fly to rearrange the team it was a master class. And also the first final game against Atlético Mineiro, it was also superb tactical football, and that he showed his credentials right then and there. Luckily he won. I'm glad he's staying, so I'm looking forward to seeing him consolidate his position, hopefully be around for a long time with Flamengo. And the other thing that I'm very looking forward to witness is Flamengo becoming an even more professional business entity, the way in which it's managed. I'm super excited with the names that the newly elected president has appointed to key positions within the club. The list was announced yesterday. There are great professionals there. These guys hopefully will be able to make Flamengo shift gears, take yet another step. We had a great trajectory since 2012 to where we are now. There's a lot of important stuff happening, whether it's the stadium, the new stadium, or the commitment to build a new stadium, the competition of all of these companies buying into Brazilian clubs and bringing more competition, bringing fresh money. So there's a lot at stake. And only a team of top-notch professionals, who better to put Flamengo, yet shift the gear, take one step forward, and bring Flamengo to further heights. Marcelo, the one thing that I'm not sure if the word is disagree, but I refuse to admit is to lose all hope on the Mundial. What I do know, my friend, is yes, we're going to be underdogs against the European clubs, sure. But I remember 1981 vividly. Liverpool was the machine of Europe, the red mean machine. And I was there in 2019 where nobody gave us a shot. And I'll tell you what, the best Liverpool team of all times, arguably, they had to really cut it close to beat us 1-0 in overtime. And guess who we had coming off the bench then? We had Berrio and Lincoln. We have a better team now. We have a better team now. So please, let me dream. Let me go. It could be a pipe dream, but it's going to be here in the U.S. I'm so excited. And yes, let's go. Let's wear the cape of the underdogs, but I'm not going to lose hope until such time that we are fortunately out. Hopefully we won't be. But
well, far be it from me to kill your dreams. I'm really excited about this tournament because it's going to be hosted where we live, so we actually get to see and live a little bit of the feeling that we have living back in Brazil. That just being there, hey, let's go watch a game. Why not? Just to live there here in the U.S. for me, that's just perfect. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It. If we get the cup, hey. I'll probably retire as a fan. I was like, I don't need to watch it no more. I've seen it all.
No, I agree. And as we wrap it up here, coming close on time, just if we could quick fire out a couple last subjects and kind of give our 20-second quick analysis on them, just so we can fire out these last couple of things we wanted to speak about. First things first, Arrascaeta, new number 10. I saw a thing from Bapi saying that the current director did a horrible job announcing, and they didn't have the shirts in size large, and they didn't have number 10s and whatever, and missed out on 10 or 12 million reais. Did you see that, Marcelo?
Yes, I did, and I agree with him.
Yeah, it's a shame. And I mean, I'm glad Arrascaeta got the number 10, right? Of course. Part of me kind of feels like I wish he would have kept that 14 and that would have been eternally his. But nevertheless, Flamengo 10, in Arrascaeta's shoes, you can't really say no to that, can you, Leo?
I cannot, and I will tell you, I'll go a step further, Rafa. Since in Brazil we don't retire jersey numbers, otherwise nobody else would be wearing number 10 right now. He would have been retired because of Zico. But since Zico stopped playing, I would say that only 2 players really deserve to wear number 10 because of the position and because of what they did. One is Petkovic, for what he meant for Flamengo at the right time, and now Arrascaeta should have gotten number 10. Earlier last year, and not Gabigol. Gabigol should have stuck around with 9, which he did great with. But politics are politics. There's a lot of truth to what was said about that. But I'm delighted that number 10 is now, has a good home for it. And let's hope that Arrascaeta can stay injury-free and bring all his talents that we know he can. And I have a sentiment that things are going to click this year, and was going to see that number 10 shine.
Yeah, and the only other player that comes to mind for me is like Rodinei, right? You talk about Zico, Petkovic. You can't mention Rodilindo in the same sentence.
If you were to offer, I bet you, if you were to give Rodinei number 10 as a joke, he would not step on the field with that jersey. He would say, "Tava louco, tava louco."
I wish I could turn the camera here because I actually have a framed Rodinei jersey on my wall.
No way.
I actually do. I'll send you guys a picture later. But yeah.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I won that in the auction. There were some games that they put the jerseys signed one player jersey sign as up for auction, and you can buy it off a website. And Rodinei was one of the cheapest one within my budget, so I got it. But I always liked him.
I love him. He's hilarious. And the funny, crazy part of it is he's ripping it apart in Europe. They won the Conference League and in the European Conference League, and he was voted, I'm pretty sure, the best right back in Greek soccer, which is nuts. So, anyways, good to see him.
El Avion, remember that? L'Avion, the plane.
To me, he's the GOAT. But anyway, so the new stadium. Quick 20, 30 seconds. If you had to say 2-3 sentences about the stadium, Marcelo.
I'm happy that we have an ongoing project, but I am worried about the finances and what can compromise as far as what we can invest towards the team. Hopefully, with the new regime, now that it's taken over as of January, they'll take a look at the books and probably put out a project that makes more sense as far as creating a budget where they won't have to take money out of making the team stronger, and hopefully something that will not see that happen to other clubs in Brazil where they build stadiums that they cannot afford, and hopefully that will not happen to Flamengo. So it's a little bit concerning, but I'm happy that we have some serious people in the club now that hopefully won't put the club budget in danger.
Love it. And Flamengo elections, BAP, Boto, all those guys. What are words on that, Marcelo?
I was happy he won. I was not a fan of the guy that was former President Rodolfo Landim wanted to be his successor. But I'm really happy about it. I was rooting for him to win. So let's hope that he maintains everything that he promised he would try to implement in the club. If he does at least half or maybe 75% of what he means to do, I'll be a very happy fan.
Awesome. You mentioned a little bit earlier in the episode that we don't necessarily need much, right, for us to get better. What do we need? Maybe other than the obvious, a striker until Pedro gets back. But what else would you say do we need?
Yeah, I mean, I would just focus on attacking options. I'm concerned a little bit about Pedro because this is if I'm not mistaken, his second very serious injury. I know it's a different knee from his previous serious injury, but it is a knee problem.
Yep.
I don't know how he's going to come back once he's fit, and then he has to get into a game shape, and I don't know how long that's going to take. So, we're probably seeing, knock on wood, a scenario where Pedro is going to be more than a third of the season through, where he's still not back in the shape that and the production level that we got accustomed to seeing from him. So I do think maybe not one but two options up in attack that maybe the club should take a look into it within our means of whatever budget we have to do so.
Awesome. And to wrap it up, if you had to leave one last, as we say, recado, or one last message to Flamengo fans out there, to Flamengo for 2025, I think it's going to be a club-defining year. What last message or word or whatever would you like to leave us with here today before we thank you so much for joining us?
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation, guys. Thank you, and I think the project for this channel is wonderful. Like I said, we don't get many content in English for Flamengo, so what you guys are doing is great. I think the message for 2025 is hope for better days. If I was to grade the 2024 season, I would give it a B, maybe a B plus if I'm have a couple of beers in me. But I think it's hope for a much better season in 2025 from the people that are taking over the club, and hopefully the players coming back from injury, players that are the new players that came in this season that will be further adapting to Brazilian football. I think we have a really good 2025 of being hopeful that more trophies we make into our museum.
Love it. Thank you, man. Hey, Leo, any last words for today? Any lingering thoughts?
Just a word of optimism on the back of what Marcelo said. We finished 2024 winning the Copa do Brasil, establishing Felipe Luiz as one of the best coaches out there. Our injured players are coming back one by one, and we have a new president and a new philosophy coming into the club that will be able to take us to new heights. So lots to look forward to. Mundial, World Cup, Libertadores, Carioca. I'm excited, Rafa.
Let's do it. Me too. Thank you so much, Marcelo, for joining us. We hope to have you again in the future. Bye-bye, everybody, and God bless. Saudações rubro-negras.